let's talk about college basketball here in our local area. Mackenzie McBacco committed to Duke, then decommitted from Duke after signing his letter of intent. Simeon Wilcher committed to UNC, decommitted from UNC after signing his letter of intent. And that happened just yesterday.
Yeah.
Trey Parker from NC State, not a similar situation, but not the exact same. He announced that he is going to be reclassifying in high school. So instead of coming out this year, he's actually going to come out next year. So, but he's still, as of right now, sticking with NC State.
Okay.
And he will end up playing in Raleigh for the Wolfpack. That is a very smart idea from my end. But this situation, very different from the Simeon Wilcher situation and the Mackenzie McBacco situation with UNC and Duke, respectively, Dennis.
It is different in the sense of Parker is still committed to NC State. Again, he's just delaying getting there for a year. Now, NC State, this upcoming offseason, had a lot, or this past offseason, I guess you could say, has had a lot of transfers come in, and a lot at his position. Michael O'Connell coming in from Stanford, a guard. MJ Wright's technically a small forward, but smaller-ish at 6'5".
Right.
A 5-star guy coming in, originally from Durham, coming in from Kansas. Mm-hmm. So you also have DJ Horn coming in from Arizona State. Jaden Taylor, a combo guard, coming in from Butler. So 4 guys, I'll say, in the backcourt that are coming in. That doesn't even count guys like Breon Pass, Casey Morcell,
LJ Thomas,
who are already there in the backcourt. So you're looking at a pretty loaded backcourt for Coach Kevin Keatts. I know Keatts last year went 3 guards a lot, where he had Joyner. He also had Terquavion Smith, as well as Casey Morcell in his starting lineup. So he's used to going with the smarter lineup, but Parker looking and saying, you know what? I can still play and keep that year of eligibility as opposed to just sitting on the bench and redshirting.
If you're not a player like Dennis Smith Jr. or like what Duke has had come in, R.J. Barrett or like a Derek Lively or something like that, a lot of those players, if you're not that and you're on a team with a lot of upperclassmen, especially in the guard position, you're going to find yourself as a freshman riding the bench because there's a lot you have to learn. And you mentioned all of the guards that are coming in with loads of experience from other programs. And then you also mentioned Casey Morcell. This is going to be his 5th year.
Yeah.
Right? Like, as a freshman, Trey Parker, you have to try to outplay that. Mm-hmm. And Casey Morcell is a very solid player defensively and also can make the open shot. Then we also talking about Breon Pass, who's been playing behind Terquavion Smith effectively for the last 2 years. He's waiting for his chance to really break out, and he's also somebody that's going to be a veteran because this will be his junior year. And LJ Thomas had a freshman year last year playing behind those other guards. He wants to break out a little bit. I actually did a interview with
who is it?
I'm trying to think of her name, who went to NC State.
Debbie Antonelli?
Debbie Antonelli. I'm sorry. I don't know why I had a brain fart right there.
It happens.
And LJ Thomas was in the facility shooting around while that was happening. He was putting in the off-season work, and that's what Trey Parker is going to have to go up against. Smart for him to pull back because he also can lose it. This is not just losing a year of playing time. It's also losing a year of maybe building your brand through NIL and making money, right? If you're sitting on a bench or if you're redshirting, you can't get out there and make as much money because people don't know you.
Yeah.
They don't see you.
Exposure matters. Exposure does matter. So, again, this is different than Simeon Wilcher, who was a part of the 2023 class for North Carolina, who told North Carolina, hey, you know what? I'm not coming. I want release from my letter of intent so he can go play somewhere else right away. So that's what Simeon Wilcher wants to do. So you actually look at North Carolina and what Hubert Davis is building there. He's looking at, I think, now at potentially 3 open scholarships if he does release Wilcher.
Yeah.
It's like 3 open scholarships. Now, he can still go into the transfer portal and pull guys out because there's still guys that are eligible in the transfer portal to come to North Carolina. Who those guys are specifically, I don't have the list in front of me. But there are guys in the transfer portal that you could still maybe go pull a piece or 2 out if you wanted to.
Honestly, I think it's probably better for Hubert Davis to focus on the group that he has right now, unless something really falls in your lap. But focus on the group that you have right now and take those 3 scholarships and just give it to a walk-on.
Well, you could, but I think also you have to protect yourself in case, well, what if you do have a rash of injuries? Then all of a sudden you're down to 8 scholarship guys, and that's a position you don't want to be in.
Well, during the year, what can you do about it?
Well, that's what I'm saying. You can fill those positions now.
Well, yeah, but
that's what I mean.
Also, I think they're in a position to where, we've seen what's going on. And here's a good discussion for us to have. Mm-hmm. If you were to fill those up right now, who's to say that you won't have another Simeon Wilcher situation?
Fair.
Because we've seen, and you've said it before to me because you've been a coach, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right now, this is a time where players have the most freedom that they've ever had. They can move around whenever they want, and we see that in this situation with Trey Parker and in Simeon Wilcher. And if you continue to fill up the roster in a way to where somebody like a Jalen Washington or somebody else says, hey, I'm not going to get playing time, I might as well go elsewhere. Now, right now, if you're already on the team and you're transferring, you're going to have to sit out a year because past the deadline. But still, that could be something that somebody would want to do, could potentially decide to do. And that's something that Hubert Davis has to be careful of. So you don't really want to go and fill up if that is the situation at hand.
Yeah, it depends on what year those guys are in school. If they're final year of eligibility, maybe they're just grad school guys who are just looking for another place to finish out their career. I don't know if those guys are still available. I'm not entirely sure. So that's how you can kind of fill it with guys who are only going to be there for one season. But my mindset, you talk about, I used to coach college women's lacrosse. I did a total of 9 seasons. I never counted a player as a recruit until that player was in a uniform on game day.
Right.
I never counted them as officially as a recruit.
Just never know.
Because there are so many players that I lost out on because of, again, I was coaching Division III, so the other different hurdles you had to deal with. But financial aid issues or whatever it might be, there are people that I had, even transfers, that I expected to come in, but there was an issue with a credit that didn't transfer over, so they didn't have enough credits coming in. They weren't eligible.
Love. Ernest Uday Jr.
Yeah, things along those lines.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
So I never counted somebody on my roster and as a recruit until they actually suited up in a game for me. So that's how it was for me.